It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single woman in possession of a good fortune will go on a lengthy expedition into a foreign country to study dragons. Because dragons be cool, doy. Okay, maybe she's not single and not really in possession of a fortune, but I really wanted to quote Jane Austen. Give me a break. Hello, and welcome everyone. My name is Kat, and today I wanted to tell you about a neat little book I read. Now, this book was not featured in my TBR because I finished it before I recorded my TBR video, but it's cute. It's pretty fun, so I thought I'd talk about it. And also, I still haven't really progressed with my TBR because I'm reading The Priory of the Orange Tree, and that book is freaking huge. Anyway, the book I'm talking about today is called Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. I randomly saw it at a bookshop and bought it on a whim because the cover is so pretty. Yes, I'm shallow. I'm sorry. I love a pretty cover, right? Covers are my weakness. I did like the premise of the book as well, though, so it's not only the cover, okay? I did read what was on the back. It's written as a memoir by a world-renowned dragon naturalist, Lady Isabella Trent. In this book, she describes her youth, the beginnings of her fascination with dragons, and her first scientific expedition to study dragons in the fictional country of Vistrana. There are 4 more books in the series that cover other expeditions and the rest of her life. Isabella is absolutely fascinated by dragons from early childhood. Unfortunately, young ladies of her social class are not supposed to participate in scholarly pursuits of dragons, they're supposed to marry well. So the book follows Isabella's attempts to chase her passion and push past against what society expects of her. It's set in a Regency style world with added elements of dragons, and from that description, you can kind of already tell that this book is written more like a historical fiction than a fantasy book. So if you go in expecting loads of magic and dragon slaying, you'll be disappointed. This book looks at dragons as another type of animal and tries to imagine where they would fit in the animal kingdom, what different species and subspecies it have, habits, etc. And that's all right up my alley. I really like all that stuff. I find it really fascinating trying to fit fantastical elements into the real world and imagine how they would work. So I enjoyed that element of the book quite a lot. The world also feels familiar. The countries may have different names, but you can kind of tell what real countries they're based on. For example, the country that the main character is from is supposed to be like the fantasy version of England, I think. That's what it feels like. That could be either distracting or nice, depending on what you prefer. I found it easier to get into and visualize the setting, but in a couple of places, seeing real world terms like Bayar or Shiva took me out of the book a bit, but I personally didn't mind much, but I do know that some people might find it annoying, so it just depends on what you like. This is a pretty short book, just over 300 pages or so a lot of elements in it are a bit surface level. The characters are not too deep, but they're enough to keep things going. The main character is that classic archetype of someone driven by their curiosity and love for science, which is actually an archetype I really like. I can immediately empathize with the desire for knowledge. Isabella is also an artist. Yes, hello. Who looks at art as a skill you can perfect rather than a God given talent, which is also something I relate to. Though that part plays a smaller role in the book, unfortunately, I would like it to be a bit more prominent. But it does give an excuse to feature some really beautiful old style illustrations, which is awesome. I love it. And it kind of makes sense in the book because the illustrations are all Isabella's drawings. So that's kind of neat. I liked it a lot. In terms of a plot, well, I'd say it's functional. There's anything that I was amazed or floored by. No earth-shattering revelations or plot twists, at least for me. I enjoyed this book more for its style and atmosphere rather than the events themselves. And this might be a negative for some people, but for me, it didn't bother me too much. I did enjoy framing of the book as a memoir. It was kind of neat being presented with 2 versions of the main character, with the older Isabella describing how she felt and thought when she was younger, and then contrasting it with how she feels now. So I feel like that did help fleshing out specifically her character as opposed to other characters in the book, and it made the book feel a little bit more interesting and unique in my view than if it was just a straight up narrative. Though again, I think some people might find that to be a bad thing, since by definition it gets rid of some of the narrative tension. You're never worried that she's gonna die or not succeed, since we know she survived, we know that she's now old and famous and well respected. Oh, there's a bird. Hi, bird. You're never worried that she might die or not succeed, since we know she survived, we know she's famous and well respected, etc. Also, in her narrative, Isabella omits or glosses over certain events, as a real person would when writing about their lives. So, I guess that might annoy some people because some very emotional moments are described very shortly because it is presented as if Isabella is still pained by certain events. So, she doesn't want to go into details, so a lot of her feelings on the matter, even though she's the one writing it, are left to the reader's imagination. And I actually like that. I find that makes the memoir aspect feel actually more authentic, and it enhanced the style of the book, in my opinion. But again, I feel like that might annoy some people, that some events are just kind of summarized rather than described in detail. In conclusion, I quite enjoyed this book. It was a fun, quick read. It hit a lot of narrative elements that I personally very much enjoy. As I've described already, I like historical fiction. I like giving real-world explanation to fantastical elements. I like when magic systems are over-explained and over-detailed. I think that's why I like Sanderson's books, because he's very much into that. I am planning to read the rest of the series, and I think I will enjoy it if the rest of the series is similar to this book. Saying all that, though, I realize that many would find this book annoying or not their cup of tea, precisely because of the elements that I enjoy. And also, if you haven't realized by that quote of Jane Austen in the beginning, I very much like Jane Austen, so some of the writing style of this book borrows from Jane Austen's style. At least that's how it felt to me. So again, I enjoyed it very much. That just enhanced the book in my view. Although, obviously, nowhere near Jane Austen's level of writing, because Jane Austen is amazing, and I will die on that hill. So, I'd say if you like historical fiction with hints of fantasy, if you like plucky female protagonist type of story, give this a go. Otherwise, I don't know, there's plenty of fish in the sea. I feel like I'm doing a terrible job recommending books. I'm like, oh, you can read it. Why not? Anyway, that is gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for watching, all you lovely, lovely humans. Like, subscribe, watch more other videos, or don't. It's a free internet. And see you next time. Bye.